Hey everybody, my family and I just got back from a trip to Italy, which started off really well and ended with quite the situation. For those who are not familiar, there were labor strikes in Italy a couple of weeks ago that we got caught up in, and then when we got back to the United States, there was a storm front that hit the East Coast. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the trip, what I did to prepare for the trip, a little bit about the vacation, and then how we kind of got through our situation at the end of the week. So we live in Austin, Texas, so we flew from Austin to Houston, Houston to Frankfurt, Germany, and then Germany to Florence, Italy. The longest leg was obviously from Houston to Frankfurt, which was 11 and a half hours. It actually was not so bad of a flight. You know, it was late in the night and we slept. So a couple of things that we did leading up to the trip to prepare. Number one, USB cords, plenty of cords. What we found out from my mother-in-law, who had just gotten back from vacation, is that USB-C is very common in Europe. Wife and I are both Android people, so I bought several USB-C to C and A to B cords, and I color code them. The A to Bs are red and the C to Cs are gray, and this will come into play later. Another really handy thing that you will likely need is a plug adapter. So the electrical outlets in Europe are different than they are in America. They look like that. They're round instead of flat. This is a plug adapter that has UK and Australian and US and has USB-A and USB-C chargers on the side of it. This was super handy and we use this all the time. One of the downsides is it's not real fast. This is not a supercharger, but you've got multiple ports and you've got a variety of ports. So this became very, very, very handy. This does not convert voltage. It just converts the plug. So if you plug your hairdryer into this, it's gonna explode. That's a different video. I'll put a link to this down below. This was really, really, really handy. So we get to we get to Florence and get in our rental car to drive to Cortona, which is where we were staying for the week. And this is where we ran into our first problem. European cars are very small, like the size of a Honda Fit, which fits 4 people, sort of, but we had a week's worth of luggage for each of the 4 people. And fitting 4 large suitcases in the back of a Fiat was quite the challenge. So be cognizant, if you're going with a group of people, how many rental cars you're planning on having and how big your luggages are to fit in the back of said car. The second thing we ran to was while we were driving to Cortona, we hit a toll booth on the highway. Didn't know how the toll booth worked, and then when we figured it out, it only took local currency, and we hadn't bothered to get euro dollars yet. So get local cash in small bills and in change and get it early, preferably before you leave the United States, because you'll get a better exchange rate than if you do it in the airport in another country. Okay, so we get to Cortona and explore the town a little bit. You know, me as a prepper, I'm always kind of trying to carry gear on me, and a super helpful, handy thing that everyone laughed at me for, but became very useful, was this. This is a travel backpack that rolls up into an itty-bitty tiny little ball. It looks really silly until you go to wineries and you start buying bottles of wine and you want to take them back to your hotel and carry them after drinking a couple of bottles of wine. So having a foldable backpack for your trinkets and other shopping to carry around, to carry back home, became very, very, very useful. And this little bag comes into play later during our little crisis situation. Keep looking at Prepper Wife over here, who's laughing at me. Prepper Wife just interjected that using the collapsible backpack helps spare her fancy leather backpack from wear and tear of carrying wine bottles and trinkets around. So make the wife happy, guys. So Corona and the surrounding towns are known for big hills, big views, and I forget the name of the town next door, but if you're a Twilight fan, we got to see this. Yes, we saw the Edward door. So there were 7 of us in total with a mix of Android and iPhone, a mix of Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile carriers, and a variety of ages of phones. Our internet and cell access was really spotty at best, and our data was very spotty at best. If you're an Android person, I'm pretty sure iPhone will do it too, download Google Offline Maps. I didn't discover this until recently, but if you go into Google Maps and hit the little dots, you can draw a circle around the area and download a map of the region where you're at. Do that when you have internet access. It became very, very, very handy. Also, phone calls, text messages were incredibly sporadic. So we all downloaded WhatsApp, and that's a great inter-platform communication. It was much more reliable than normal phone calls and text messaging. So we created a big group chat on WhatsApp for our trip, and that's how we were able to send information back and forth. Very, very, very handy. So on Wednesday, I'm at the hotel while the family is out doing a tour, and I get a message from the wife that my father-in-law had gotten an email saying that our flight on Saturday had been canceled. So I start doing some research and find out that essentially the entire state of Italy, the transit union, is going on strike starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, from 10 o'clock Saturday to 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So they come home and we start trying to research situations. We've got me and the wife are trying to go to Austin, mother-in-law, father-in-law trying to go to San Antonio, brothers and sisters trying to go to Austin, or try to go to Houston. So we're going all over the place. So we spend the next 6 or 7 hours on the phone with Lufthansa Airlines and United and the travel agencies trying to find some flights. Be flexible with these things. And we learned that downloading the airlines apps became very useful. We were able to get better information faster through the app than sitting on the phone with 100,000 other people. So we had a couple of different plans that came into play. The first thought was that we would take a train from Florence to Munich, which is 12 hours. But at least we wouldn't have to drive. We could just enjoy the train ride. And then we found out on the news that the train workers were going to strike in solidarity with the airline workers. So we figured that that was not a safe bet to make. Then we were considering driving to Munich, but found out that we had difficulties with our rental car going from one country to another country. Okay, so we had to talk to a rental car company to get that sorted out. So sitting on hold for a couple hours, we finally got flights situated. What ended up happening was the 3 Houston people drove from Cortona to Milan, Italy, which was supposed to be a 4-hour drive and ended up being a 7.5-hour drive, getting a hotel and sleeping for 3 or 4 hours, and then catching an early flight and making it home. They were the lucky ones. They got there the fastest. Wife and I and mother-in-law, father-in-law spent one more night there in Cortona, and then drove back to Florence at 5 a.m., caught a flight to Munich, Germany. That went off without a hitch. And we thought that once we were in Germany, we were going to be in the clear because we had escaped the labor strike. And when we were in the airport in Florence, every flight after 10 a.m. got canceled. So we rolled out at 9:45 and hit the air and thought that we were in the clear. By the way, flying over the Italian Alps was absolutely gorgeous. Just an hour and a half, 2 hours of snow-covered mountains. Check this out. Absolutely gorgeous. So we get to Frankfurt and we have a fairly short layover. So we're running, not Frankfurt, through Munich. So we get to Munich, we have a fairly short layover. So we're running through Munich trying to clear through customs and board our next flight. So we get on, no problem. The flight, we're heading actually from Munich to JFK because we couldn't get back to Texas. So we get to JFK, it's a 9.5-hour flight, not a big deal. When we get to JFK, we actually have to change airports from JFK to Newark, New Jersey. That was about an hour taxi ride that cost us $200 to taxi between airports. And we have a really short layover, about 90 minutes to make it from JFK to Newark. So we're both really worried because we had to get our bags. So we're changing airports. We had to actually go to baggage, get our bags, get a taxi, make it across the bridge through wonderful New Jersey and get to Newark. While we're on the bridge between New York and New Jersey, I get an alert on my email that our plane had been delayed. And I actually was excited about this, that we'd have a little bit more breathing room to get to the airport and not worry about missing our flight. So I check in via the United app just to make sure that we're clear and we have our seats. We get to New York, we check our bags in and go to the airport and get some food. By the way, if you're ever in Newark Airport, the BurgerFi burger joint in the airport, the Bacon Ultimate Cheeseburger is freaking awesome. Absolutely awesome. And after being in Italy for a week, I really wanted a beer and a cheeseburger, and it did not disappoint. Hey, if you're enjoying this, please give me a like and a subscribe. And if you got caught up in this mess last week, tell me your story down in the comments. Okay, so we're hanging around the Newark airport, and I get another message saying that our plane had been delayed. Okay, so we got another hour. So at this point, it's like 8 o'clock. So we go to our gate, and we're playing games and just hanging out. Get another alert, and then another alert, and then at around 9:30, we get an email that all flights have been canceled. There was a storm front that came through the East Coast over the weekend, and it was just raining too much, so they canceled all flights going out of the Newark airport. So you could feel the tension start to rise with the people we were kind of sitting around. So there's lots of rumors kind of going on. So we're in Terminal A. We catch a trolley over to Terminal C because that's the customer service desk where we're trying to get some information. So by the time we get over there, the line to the customer service desk is about 100 yards long. So we get in line and we're kind of chatting with some people around us, and the wife goes up and just kind of starts talking with people who are in line. And we try to make the decision, are we going to stand in line and wait for another flight? What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to, handle the situation? And remember, we had checked our bags. So my wife had nothing but her backpack with her phone and some other, kind of knickknacks in it. And I just had my backpack. So we start talking about options. We heard that they were going to start dumping bags down in baggage claim. So we went down to baggage claim and sat there for about 2 hours while bags started coming off the chutes. And we sat there for a while, and I was trying to watch the screens, waiting to see where our bag was going to be at. And I talked with several employees, and I got a lot of attitude from a lot of them. And so I saw kind of a younger guy and just approached him, very nicely, and slipped him a little cash and told him kind of where our flight was, and where was it going to be coming out, and when. And after going back and forth a little bit, he informed me of a very particular situation. Since we had checked into the airport, we were not a transfer from another flight. Our bags had never made it onto a plane because the plane had never arrived. So I had to go to a special desk called the QTH desk. So I go to the QTH desk, and there were two people in front of me who were yelling and screaming at the attendants, which is never helpful. So I took a breath and gave them a smile and told them the situation. And the woman explained to me that our bags had never made it onto a plane, and there was absolutely nothing we could do. We could not recover them, that they were going to be put on the next flight to Austin, and that's all that there could not do anything about it. So we got a hotel in New Jersey and caught one of the very last Ubers out of the Newark airport. I heard from some people standing around that Uber actually canceled pickup from the Newark airport because it was so busy and so crowded, and tempers were really starting to get hot. So we catch an Uber into New Jersey because all the hotels near the airport were all booked. My wife is on the phone with United on hold for about 2 hours trying to get flight situated. So we asked while we're driving to the hotel, we update the Uber and have him stop at a CVS because it's about 11:30 at this point. So we stop at a CVS, go inside, get toothbrushes, soap, change a t-shirt, some clean socks, some snacks. Spend $150 at CVS, go to the hotel, shower, sleep for about 4 hours, get another Uber, go back to the airport. Because we're supposed to catch a 9 a.m. from Newark to San Antonio. So we live in Austin, but all they had was a San Antonio flight. It's like, fine, we'll rent a car. Not that big of a deal, 2-hour drive, just get me back to Texas. So we're in the hotel for about 3-4 hours, sleep, Uber back to the airport. The plane gets delayed again because the pilot for our plane was in Boston and they got caught in a storm. So I found the flight number for the Boston flight, and I'm watching him take off. He finally lands, walks off of one plane onto our plane. We all board. We're pulling out of the taxiway and sit on the tarmac for about 90 minutes because there was this huge traffic jam behind us from flights trying to get out. So we finally take off and we make it to San Antonio, where we rent a car and come home. We still don't have our bags at this point, and my car is still in the long-term parking at the airport. However, I had been reading about international travel for the weeks leading up to this, and I bought a tile tracker module and put it inside my luggage so I could keep an eye on it. And it will send you alerts when your bags are located. So late Sunday afternoon, I get an alert that our bags were in the Austin airport. They had made it. So I had taken Monday off from work. So I drove down to the airport about 10 o'clock and went to the customer service desk, and boom, there they are, got my car, and our adventure was done. So There's the long and the short of it. Now, as we were on the plane, the wife and I were sort of sketching down some tips as to how we kind of survived through all this. So I'm going to run off some of these, and hopefully that they will be helpful to you in your travels. First, pack toiletries and a change of clothes in your carry-on. I had socks, underwear, t-shirt in a 1-gallon Ziploc bag rolled up in a little ball in the bottom of my backpack. And that was fantastic. When we got to the hotel, I was able to shower and put on a change of clothes. And that was just amazing. It doesn't take up a lot of room. You know, socks, underwear, t-shirt, toothbrush, stuff like that. Little bitty little ball. Pack that in your carry-on in case you get stuck someplace. It was such a morale booster to put on some fresh clothes. And you don't have to spend money at a CVS in New Jersey at 11:30 at night. Pill bottles. If you're on medication, or if you have any medication that you need or have to have, like my wife takes sleeping pills and some other medications, pack miniature bottles. One of my favorites is this. These are actually specimen tubes for, you know, biology or something like that, but they're super cheap. I bought a bag of these, like 20 of them, for like $8 on Amazon, and you can fit a dozen pills in here. And then I'll take a label maker and I'll write on the side what they are. These are great for first aid kits also. They're really, really, really cheap and really handy. So if you've got any medications or anything like that, I take some stomach stuff, pack them in little mini pill bottles. Have a variety of charging cords and charging options and color code them. Like I said, we're Android people, so this is a C to C cable and it's gray, and this is an A to C cable and it's red. If we had an iPhone one, it would be white. Having them color coded made them really easy to find in a dark backpack because we sort of knew what we were looking for. Also, having a charger now that's both A and C gave us options because we ended up losing these along the way. So have some options, have some charging options. We also found out, like I said earlier, that in Europe, USB-C is common. So while there were ports in most of the cars, they were C. So we had to use our C to C cable to charge our phones. So between this and this, we had some options and had some flexibility. Have cash, have local cash and local change. Like I said, we got stuck at a toll booth because we couldn't figure out how to work it, and then didn't have any money to put into it. They actually came on the intercom and argued with my father-in-law for several minutes before they just let us go through the toll booth. Also, a lot of countries have minimum charges of €5, which is basically $5. So if you want to get a bottle of water or a candy bar, you have to get a couple of them to reach over the minimum threshold, as opposed to just having cash. And I was also used some cash to kind of catch some favors with the baggage guy in Newark to tell me what I should be doing. So have some small bills, have some cash and change of local denominations. You know, temper in Newark in particular, tempers were really hot. We saw lots of people yelling and screaming at each other, at their kids, at the employees. You know, that never gets anywhere. I worked retail for about 10 years, and yelling and screaming never gets you anywhere. So before you approach someone, take a deep breath and smile and be calm. You know, they're just trying to do their jobs also, so just be nice to people. Be like Matt Damon. Be like Matt Damon. One of my favorite movies is The Martian. And in The Martian, if you've never watched it, you need to. He's always calm. You know, he had setbacks. He just figures it out. Just figure it out. Be open, be flexible, you know, be creative, but just be calm. You know, in conjunction with what I just said about, you know, being calm, being nice to each other, my wife and I talked about this later, that, you know, we just came together calmly and rationally to get through this. The other piece of that is divide and conquer. While I was looking for bags, she was on hold with United. She was making, hotel reservations and airline reservations while I was dealing with the Uber driver and going to CVS for supplies. So divide and conquer. So be calm, be nice to each other, and divide and conquer tasks. Time really was of the essence. Hotels were booking up just like that. So the fastest that you could get to, on the phone or on an app or get somebody, the more likely you were to get what you wanted. I'm sure hundreds of people just slept in the airport because they didn't have any other alternative. So the wife just added something that I forgot about. Know when to cut your losses. Steph said that the reason why we were able to get a hotel and get a rental car is because we got on it fairly early. We had originally heard that customer service with United was going to cut travel vouchers and hotel vouchers for canceled flights, but the line for that desk was hours and hours and hours long. So we decided to forego that and just pay for it out of pocket and figure it out later. We have the financial resources to do that. We also got a cheap hotel in Jersey, but know when to cut your losses, know when you just need to take care of yourself. And another flexibility also with this is to be flexible. One of our original plans was to get a rental car and drive from New Jersey to Norfolk, Virginia, which is about 5.5 hours, which is another hub to get away from the storm front. We didn't know how long it was going to last. When we got the hotel room, we actually got it for 2 days, so that way we'd have a place to stay in the event that flights got canceled on Monday. Yeah. So we ate the second day at the hotel. Okay, it was $150, but at least we had an option. We had a backup alternative option if things would have gone to hell. Back to my collapsible backpack. Again, so in Jersey, all of our luggage was trapped and checked. So when we went to CVS to get supplies, I was able to pull out my cool little collapsible backpack and use this to carry all of our toiletries and things like that we bought. So having a spare bag, super handy. Download all airline and travel apps and log into them and register them. Like I said, we got a lot better, faster information from the United app than waiting for the announcements over the PA. Sign up for all the mailing lists, all the email lists, and add everyone in your party to them. So we were all getting email alerts about delayed flights. We all got emails about confirmation, seat confirmation. So download all your apps and add everybody to every email list. So that way everybody can share information. The tile tracker ended up being a really great comfort. I was able to kind of keep an eye and make sure that our bags were in the right country and in the right city. Well spent $30. So Apple iTag, tile tracker, whatever, hiding that inside my bag gave me a lot of peace of mind. Regarding luggage, make your luggage unique. You talk about a needle in a haystack, this is a needle in a haystack. Trying to find a black roller bag in a sea of 10,000 other black roller bags was absolutely impossible. So my luggage tag is the most obnoxious fluorescent green that I could find, and I did that on purpose. And then I tied a piece of bright orange paracord to the top of the handle, also on purpose. So make your bag obnoxious, make it unique, make it brightly colored so you can find it in a sea of other bags. I've talked about this in my other prepper videos, and I will reiterate it again and again and again. USB battery bank is an absolute lifesaver. Ankler is the name, is the brand name. This is an off-brand, but I have 4 Anklers. 20,000 milliamp would be my recommendation. And make sure it's got a variety of ports on it, A, B, C, Lightning, etc. After sitting in the baggage claim, phones were low after traveling all day. We could juice up with this while we're on the phone with United. Absolutely a godsend. I firmly believe anybody with a cell phone needs to have a USB battery. I carry one in my backpack at work, a 10,000 that's more slim. Absolute lifesaver. Strongly, 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 strongly recommended. Local translator. So, we went to Italy and none of us speak Italian. Most people in Italy have a functional grasp of the English language. It wasn't fantastic, but we survived. Not every menu is in English. So Google Translate has this cool camera app where you can take a picture and it will translate for you. There is an offline version that you have to download. So use Google Translate or other translate apps and download the offline version of the country where you're going to. When you're talking to people from the airlines or other travel agencies, be very specific about your particular situation. If I would have told the baggage guy that we had checked into the airport, that we were not a transfer from another flight, we could have saved hours of time of me walk around in circles around the baggage claim trying to find our bags, because it was the customer service desk who told me that they were in a back special place and we couldn't have them. I'm still kicking myself for not being more specific about our situation, because we could have had a couple extra hours of sleep and beat the mad rush to the Uber and to the hotels. So be very specific about your situation, what flight you were on, where you came from, etc. Well, that's it. I hope that this was helpful and useful in your travels or upcoming travels. If you found this to be helpful, please drop a comment and give me a thumbs up and let me know your story. All right. Thanks, everyone.